Hey everyone, welcome to Understanding English Humor and Sarcasm. It's such a thrilling topic, but often one of the trickiest parts of learning English, isn't it?
Absolutely. Humor is deeply embedded in language and culture, and grasping its subtleties, especially sarcasm, can be quite a hurdle for learners. We're here to break it down for you.
Okay, so let's jump straight into one of the trickiest ones first sarcasm. This is something I hear a lot, both in real life and in TV shows.
Indeed, sarcasm is essentially saying the opposite of what you actually mean, often with a subtle, critical, or even mocking tone. It's about using words that literally express one thing, but the speaker intends to convey the contrary, usually for humorous or pointed effect.
Right, so for example, if it's pouring rain outside and someone says, "Oh, what lovely weather we're having today," that's definitely sarcasm. They don't actually think the weather is lovely.
Precisely. Another common one might be if a friend turns up very late for an appointment, and you say, "Nice of you to finally join us, punctual as ever." You're not genuinely praising their punctuality, you're highlighting their tardiness in a humorous way.
Or imagine someone spills coffee all over their new shirt and says, "Fantastic, just what I needed this morning." The delivery is key there, usually with a sigh or an eye roll. That's a perfect example of how the tone completely changes the meaning.
Absolutely. Pay attention to the speaker's voice, facial expressions, and the context of the situation. They're often strong indicators that sarcasm is at play. It's rarely meant to be taken literally.
Okay, so we've talked about sarcasm, which is saying the opposite of what you mean with a bit of a bite. Now let's tackle its trickier cousin, irony. People often confuse the two, and for good reason, but there is a key distinction.
Indeed. While sarcasm is a type of verbal irony, irony itself is broader. At its heart, irony is about a contrast between what is expected to happen and what actually happens, or between what is said and what is truly meant, but without that same critical or mocking intention you often find in sarcasm.
Exactly. Take verbal irony, for instance. If you say, "Oh, fantastic, I just spilled coffee all over my clean shirt after a bad morning," you're saying fantastic, but you clearly mean the opposite. And it's understood you're annoyed, not truly thrilled. It's the contrast between your words and your real feeling.
Right. Then you have situational irony, which is a bit different. This is when there's a discrepancy between what is expected to happen and what actually happens. A classic example is a fire station burning down. You expect a fire station to be immune from fires, not to fall victim to one, or a traffic warden getting a parking ticket.
Oh, that's a brilliant one. And then there's dramatic irony, which you often see in plays or movies. That's when the audience knows something important that the characters in the story don't. It creates tension because you know what's coming, but the characters are oblivious. So while sarcasm aims to mock or criticize, irony is more about the unexpected twist or the surprising contrast. So, moving on from irony and sarcasm, there are two other fascinating forms of English humor often linked together: dry humor and deadpan delivery. Can you walk us through these, especially since they're so prominent in British comedy?
Absolutely. Dry humor at its core is characterized by a subtle, understated delivery. It's not about big, obvious jokes, but rather a quiet wit that often requires the listener to think a moment to get it. It's like a joke whispered rather than shouted.
And deadpan delivery often goes hand in hand with that, right? That's when someone tells a joke or a humorous observation with a complete straight face, showing no emotion.
Precisely. Deadpan is the execution, the performance of dry humor. It creates this wonderful contrast between the absurd or witty statement and the serious expression of the person delivering it. In the UK, we often find this style incredibly funny because it implies a shared understanding, a knowing wink without the actual wink. Think of British comedians who can say the most outlandish things with absolute sincerity, like, "I once saw a squirrel try to pay for a bus ticket. He had the coins, but no hands, you see," delivered with no change in facial expression. It's prevalent in our daily life, too. Someone might say, "Well, that went swimmingly," with a completely flat tone after a disaster. It's an understated way of acknowledging the absurdity without making a fuss. It's part of our cultural fabric, a way to lighten the mood with a subtle touch.
All right.
Let's move on to another fantastic type of humor, self-deprecating humor. This is when you make fun of yourself, often to appear more relatable or humble. It's incredibly common, and I think it instantly makes people warm to you.
Indeed, it's a rather endearing quality, isn't it? If you can gently poke fun at your own flaws or misfortunes, it shows a certain humility and an ability not to take yourself too seriously. It lowers people's guard and makes you seem more approachable.
Exactly. Like if I totally mess up a cooking attempt, I might say, well, that looks like something my dog threw up, but at least it smells interesting. Instead of getting upset, I just laugh at my own disaster.
Or if you've had a particularly clumsy moment, perhaps tripping over your own feet, you might simply exclaim, "Oh, brilliant! I'm just conducting a gravity experiment, clearly." It deflects potential embarrassment and invites others to share in a lighthearted moment rather than judging. It really helps to lighten the mood in social interactions.
So, speaking of context, we absolutely have to talk about how humor differs across cultures, especially between British and American English speakers. It's fascinating how the same joke can land completely differently.
Indeed, British humor, for example, is often characterized by its dry wit, understatement, and a certain level of self deprecation, as we discussed. There's an expectation that the listener will pick up on the subtlety, rather than having the humor spelled out for them.
And in America, while we appreciate subtlety too, humor can sometimes be more direct, more overt. Think of the classic British sitcom with its quiet observations and a boisterous American stand up. Both are funny, but the delivery and expectation are distinct.
A good example might be how we deal with awkward situations. A Brit might use dry sarcasm or a quick, understated remark to diffuse tension, perhaps saying something like, "Well, that was certainly a moment." An American might go for a more exaggerated reaction or a punchline to make it explicitly funny.
Absolutely. Or even with self deprecating humor. In Britain, it can be a constant, almost conversational hum, whereas in America, it can be used for specific comedic effect, often followed by a more confident assertion. It's about how much you lean into the perceived flaw.
It really highlights the importance of cultural context. What one culture finds laugh out loud funny, another might find confusing or even a bit rude if they don't grasp the underlying cultural expectation or social dynamic. Learners need to listen for those nuances.
So, to wrap things up, for all you intermediate English learners out there, my top tip for mastering English humor is simply to immerse yourself. Watch British and American TV shows, listen to stand up comedy, and pay close attention to how native speakers interact. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand the joke.
Precisely. And remember, context is king. A lot of humor, especially sarcasm and irony, relies heavily on the situation and the tone of voice. Practice identifying those subtle cues, and don't be shy about trying to use a little self deprecating humor yourself. It's a great way to connect with people.
Absolutely. So, we've covered sarcasm, irony, dry humor, deadpan delivery, self deprecating humor, plus some of those cultural differences. It's a lot to take in, but with practice, you'll be cracking jokes like a pro in no time.
Indeed. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep laughing. Thank you for joining us today on Understanding English Humor and Sarcasm.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.